Hello, scrufftards, the occasional vatnik, and all you wonderful geeks, freaks, and weirdos online. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And this is a frontline update for the 14th of December 2024. And Russia is pushing and gaining territory, and Ukraine is doing their damnedest to hold on to their positions and the front line. But it has to be said, Russia is slowly but surely at multiple locations pushing Ukraine back and gaining ground in this war. And we're gonna start off with taking a look at Kursk. A lot of stuff has happened at Kursk. Then we're gonna move down to Kharkiv because lo and behold, at Kharkiv, Ukraine is pushing Russia back. That is actually a location where the Ukrainians appear to be in control and have been pushing Russia back steadily for several weeks. It's slow going, granted, but still, the changes on the map are clearly in Ukraine's favor. And we're going to take a look at some news and rumors from Kherson and finish it off with Pokrovsk. So let's get on with it. Right, I use W map to begin with as per usual, and interesting updates. Down here, we have a lot of rumors in Plekhovo that the North Koreans have been involved. And then we also see here something is happening. Russia is pushing out and gaining territory south of Novka. So, but beyond that, I don't think much else has happened. So we're going to take a look at what's going on down here. And I don't think the other mappers have updated anything like this quite yet. I'm lying. Ukraine control map has a important observation. We're going to take a look at that. But first, let's jump on over to... let's see here. There we go. My map. And zoom in on Plekhovo. So what has happened? Well, Russia has gained control of Plekhovo in its entirety. And we are now hearing online rumors that this is because they sent in the highly elite North Koreans that went in, took over the town in 2 hours, and wiped out all Ukrainian opposition. This is, of course, very unlikely. What happened was, we talked about this before, Russia tried a assault across the wide open fields towards Plekhovo, which failed. They then resorted to moving in north and got into this wood here. And what they did was manage to gain control of the bridge. So Ukraine had no serious access point with logistics. This, of course, weakened the Ukrainians overall in the area. And then Russia pushed in here, south of town, and they also managed to secure some valleys here out in the fields. Having gained access to the town, they then focused on pushing in here to the south and pushed in here, cutting some poor country roads that the Ukraine had to rely on for logistics. And now Plekhovo was cut off from all support, all supplies, all reinforcements. So when Russia then again applied pressure in the town, Ukraine couldn't hold on and they were forced out, and they probably left because they had no more logistics. And I'm not degrading the Russian effort here with Vatniks. Never. I mean, the Russians did the right thing. They were struggling with the town and instead cut the supplies to the town. So when they applied pressure again, Ukraine decided there's no point in fighting. We leave, right? So that is what probably happened. That is probably why, if it was the Russians or North Koreans, I don't know, that is why they managed to take the town eventually in a couple of hours, because the Ukrainians had left. Why did they leave? Because the Russians had done the smart thing and isolated the town, right? So, hold your horses. Don't write angry comments. The Russians did a smart move, right? It wasn't I doubt it was a big, massive, glorious assault by the North Koreans. They probably just pushed in and maybe had some skirmishes with the Ukrainian rear guard as they were falling back into these woods. Now the question is Ukraine in control of these woods, or have they fallen back across the river? Now this here, I pointed this out before, not a bridge, the map is lying. So somehow the Ukrainians, they need to get across the river Psel, and probably it's going to be by boats and ferries and what have you. So that's the situation at Plekhovo. If you're wondering what this is Ukrainian defenses within Ukraine. So Russia up here, Ukraine down here. And as we all know, Russia made a tactical decision to occupy woods within Ukraine, because this is where you have cover. And so you can outmaneuver the Ukrainians within Russia. So I decided to highlight this is actually a forest where Ukraine probably has troops who can engage Russians up here in these woods. Anyway, so that's the situation in Plekhovo. I'm very, very skeptical that it was a glorious North Korean assault. Russia had already done the main job of defeating Plekhovo by pushing in north and later on pushing in south, isolating the town. And then it was just a matter of giving the Ukrainians that final nudge out of town, and they are probably in these woods, probably if they haven't already left this part of Russia and have moved across the river. And speaking of that, now we're going to move on to the Ukraine control map, because if we take a look at this, you can't see the text here. Hang on, I will redo it so you can read what it says here on the side. Right, so Plekhovo, as you can see, a bunch of, hang on, we can do this, 177th Marine Regiment Battalion. Okay, and this is Special Purpose Battalion Arbat. Created and followed by the Honor Assistant of the City of Gorodlovka under President Boxing for Donetsk. What? Separate Special Arbat followed Gorodlovka under President Boxing Donetsk People's Republic. Huh. All right. Anyway, so these guys are apparently involved in the assault on Plekhovo. And if we move up to the river here, you have the bridge that the Russians managed to cut and gain control. Take a look. This is on the 13th of December, so yesterday at the time of recording. 61st Mechanized Brigade spots Russian forward elements in Kursk, and forces them to retreat across the Psel River. FPV drone hit here. I wonder what this is. Same thing. Yeah. And this is from the 12th. Okay, yeah, so they're shelling Russians at the river. And here we have, and this is really interesting. So this is up here at Kursk. So Russia has managed to get scouts across the river outside of Kursk. Really interesting. You have marshes here all over the place. Let's see if we can find out like so. Yeah, you see Kursk over here and the river Psel, but the waterway continues up here. So they are here in this area here. These are marshlands up here. This is bogs and marshes. Not that, it's not the best terrain to advance through, but maybe Russia will make an attempt to do it. You never know. But if you want to scout out enemy positions here in this town, in Kursk, I mean, special forces would be moving through the most difficult terrain, because that is where you usually do not expect them to advance through. You're like, no, it's too difficult, they won't come through there. Or in times It's so wide open spaces. There's no way in hell they're going to come through there. We're going to spot them, and that's how they sneak in, where you least expect them. So moving through here, difficult terrain, bogs, marshes, and you can find cover somewhere and set up observation point to scout Ukrainian positions in the town or village of Kyrilovka. Might indicate that Russia wants to cross the river or cross the bogs and marshes and reconnaissance. This is the Sudja River, to reach Kyrilovka. I think that's interesting. Far more interesting than all that BS about the North Koreans. We have Russia pushing out to Psel, and they are now operating here with reconnaissance, scouting out Ukrainian positions, or they want to scout out their Ukrainian positions, but they got intercepted and were forced to fall back. But I mean, they got a tough job ahead of them if they want to reach Kyrilovka. You see all the high ground here. Take a look at the elevation in front of them. You have, these are not hills, these are goddamn mountains, and here you have the lowland where you have the rivers, the marshes, and everything. If you want to come across here, the Ukrainians are looking down on you. So it's not that strange that these guys were spotted trying to move around up here, right? I mean, take a look at these hills. Here, here, and here. And Guevo is the same thing with Guevo. Huge hills surrounding this town. Russia can only cross, if they want a bridge, the only bridge is down here. I think it's going to be difficult for Russia to cross the river Psel and threaten Guevo. The only good bridge is here, and the terrain heavily is in Ukraine's favor, with these hills overlooking these difficult obstacles in the shape of rivers, marshes, and boglands. And you have some towns as well that are good positions to defend. And it's open ground between the woods here that Russia might occupy and the river. It's open ground. Take a look at this. Right? Take a look. That's why I haven't marked this as in Ukrainian or Russian control, because it's wide open spaces. Wide open spaces. And same thing here. Yes, you have some woods and bushes all over the place, but I mean, drones are gonna spot you moving through this. There's just no way to hide in this terrain here. And here I've marked it as Ukrainian because here you actually have some woods. This is where the scouts were moving around, but still, it's not that many places where you can move in cover, especially if drones are now all over the place looking down and trying to find you. So crossing the Psel, it's a tough nut to crack. Even down here, say Russia pushes into these woods. This is where you have the bridge I was talking about. If they want to make a move on Guevo, taking these woods, again, wide open spaces before they can reach the river and attempt a crossing. Same thing in wide open. And here the Ukrainians have a forest on their end, so they can, be in cover and watch the Russians coming at them. If Russia tries something with Guevo, I think that will fail. So maybe they have something else in mind here with Kyrilovka. Maybe they feel that it's easier reaching this town instead of going up against these big hills and the woods here that clearly favors the defenders. Maybe they're thinking it's easier to come across here through this territory maybe and reaching Kyrilovka instead of fighting Guevo, going through the woods and going up against all these hills. So we'll see what happens down there. Enough of that. We're going to take a look at that second interesting location, and it's up here where ISW shows us that Russia is in control of this area here. Now, as you can see, 90% of it is wide open farmland. So what Russia has managed, if ISW is correct, and ISW usually gets backed up by the other mappers, 24, 48 hours after they have updated, in Kursk at least. So what is it that they can grab and gain control of that isn't a wide open field? Well, it's this windbreak here, and it continues down this way. And here you have a gap. So I believe that Russia has gained access to these windbreaks and are in control. And down here you have these woods here, probably lots of Ukrainian trench lines and bunkers here that they have managed to occupy. And then, of course, it also suggests that Russia has finally taken Nizhny Klin, this small village. You can see the buildings hiding beneath the woods here. This tiny village, and the small forest belt here right next to the river Snagost. So Russia has managed to finally come down this. They tried for weeks and they have lost dozens and dozens of vehicles trying to cross this open field along the highway. They finally managed to punch through Ukrainian defenses and taken the windbreaks out in the fields and pushed into these woods and taken Nizhny Klin. So they are now in control of 1, 2, and not control since Ukraine is trying to push in here, but these 2 crossing points over the river Snagos is now in Russian control. And Ukraine is making an effort to push into Darino. But it appears as if Russia might maybe have pushed them out. There doesn't seem to be all that many updates of fighting going on in Darino, so might suggest that Ukraine has fallen back. But that's basically it at the moment from Kursk, I think. Yeah, Russia has gained access to these locations, and the maps you're going to see it on not only on ISW but Deep State and everyone. They're going to show that boom, Russia is in control of this entire area. But when you actually look at what it is, it's farmland, right? So what they are in control of are these locations, unless the other mappers show something else, maybe that they have pushed on even further and are in control of these windbreaks maybe. But that doesn't seem to be the case when we look at ISW. And of course, the loss of Plekhovo. The question is if Ukraine is still in these woods or if they have already moved across the river to safety. Because I believe that is what they're doing. I don't think they will hold here to the last man, since they don't have any effective ways of supplying them. Yes, they may use amphibious vehicles, but it's such a narrow point where they can cross, and it's easy for Russian drones to locate boats or vehicles or what have you trying to cross the river. So I think Ukraine maybe already have left this forest. Maybe they will try and fight for a couple of days, but eventually they will lose, and all of this area here will become will come under Russian control once again. Leaving Kursk behind, we're now moving to Kharkiv, and let's zoom in a bit. Take a look at this. Here we have Lyubimovka on that big hill. Take a look. From the 14th, Ukrainians hit with drone drops in Lyubimovka. So, and this is the same thing. We have Ukrainians right smack in the middle of Lyubimovka. This is the Ukraine control map. So they have found video evidence geolocated that we do indeed have Ukrainians in the middle of Lyubimovka. Russia has been forced back even further still in the past 14th. That's today. This is from today? My God. Okay, so in the past 24 hours, Ukraine has made a big push into Lyubimovka. That is really interesting. So if we have Kharkiv, we are zooming in, and we have Lyubimovka, and well, I'm taking liberties. So we had Ukrainians being attacked right smack in the middle of this part of town, the southern part of town. And I mean, kind of seems to suggest that if you're in here, I mean, they began the push here, and they were over here as well. So if they began pushing in this way, and I've made it all the way down here, so maybe they're not over here. Maybe that was a bit, overreach. But this part here, definitely, let's do it like, okay, we're gonna do it like so and like so. Let's be gracious, like that. There we go. And and this like so, and yes, we should use yellow. Okay, something like that. I think that's fair. So Ukraine has pushed into this part of town. Russia is probably maybe still in control of this end here. But I mean, clearly Ukraine is applying pressure to Lyubimovka. It's a slow advance. It's a really slow advance. Make no mistake about it. This is not lightning speed. I mean, Ukraine needs weeks to make any gain at all. But they are close here, and really close here to make significant gains in this valley and in this town. Let's see if I can show. Yeah, whatever. And let's zoom in here on Kharkiv, and this is the area we're talking about. We can see here RSW is showing the same, that Ukraine has begun the pushes into town. As you can see, I'm a bit more gracious. Anyway, but if we take a look at this, take a look what we can do here. We can actually take a look at what the terrain looks like. So Ukraine is coming in from above. Take a look. They have the high ground surrounding the town here from the south. So they can be up here and open fire potentially on targets within the town itself as they're pushing in. And the real problem would be when they reach the bottom here of this creek. As you can see, there's a big gap with little to no cover as they need to push to the final bit of the town here on the outskirts in the north. So I think Ukraine can begin pushing in and eventually grab the town. But after that, it's going to be difficult. Maybe they will have to push up this way and try and sneak in. Here you can move from cover to cover, but it's now they have a foothold in Lyubimovka. They can push in troops, and they can begin moving from building to building and down into the valley and the creek. But from here on, it's gonna be more difficult to reaching these warehouses on the northern end of town here. Likewise, if we take a look at this, we can see here. Whoop! Sorry about that. Ukraine has, if we take a look at most mappers agree that Ukraine has pushed down here and that they have pushed out this way, and they are really close to this patch of woods here. And as you can see here, wide open spaces. This is not good terrain to move supplies through. So if Ukraine can push in here, Russia will be hard pressed to support these troops in this valley. And I'll show you what that valley looks like. Here you go. You can see it's a bowl-shaped valley. Ukraine is moving along the top here of the hill, reaching this crucial point here where Russia can truly move in reinforcements and supplies, because down here, I mean, you can see it's down in a valley next to a river, wide open spaces. If they move trucks and vehicles, it's so easy for drones to hunt them down and grab them to destroy them. Here you can actually move in reinforcements and what have you into this valley, and then maybe carry or make quick dashes with the vehicle from cover to cover, and the same thing here, cover to cover, and a quick dash to help troops in this area. So Ukraine is really close to basically isolating this valley, this bowl-shaped valley here. And if they achieve that, it's a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before Russia will have to fall back, or they will catch a lot of POWs in this area if they do manage to push in this way and isolate this valley from this patch of woods where Russia can bring in resupplies and reinforcements. And we've already seen Ukraine blowing up vehicles down here below the hill, right next to the river here in the valley. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Russia needs to hold this small bit here is what Russia needs to defend, because if Ukraine can push in, Russia loses the entire valley. So Ukraine is close to grabbing this valley, and they are close to establish themselves properly in Lyubimovka, and Russia is quite clearly struggling on this big hill north of Kharkiv. And we're going to talk about a bit about Crimea, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia as well, because a couple of days ago, apparently a column of Russian armor was spotted moving through Crimea towards occupied territory in Ukraine. Well, all of Crimea is occupied territory, but recently occupied territories. So they're moving through Crimea towards Ukraine, and the question is, where will they go? The rumor is that there will be a big offensive towards Zaporizhzhia. I read in a Swedish news outlet that Russia might have 130,000 troops ready to make a move on Zaporizhzhia. And that might seem incredible, but the thing is that throughout this year, Russia has been reinforcing the area at Kherson. What the hell? Okay. At Kherson, and because Ukraine has been building up this big amphibious capability with over 200 assault craft and transports, giving them a powerful ability to move troops quickly across the river here, or across the Bay Area, or similar. So because of this amphibious threat, Russia they went from 40,000 troops in this area and expanded that quickly to 100,000 troops, according to news sources. So just because, they feared a Ukrainian amphibious assault that would lead to a larger ground operation that would push towards Crimea. So they have potentially a whole lot of troops in place in this area that could be used in an operation trying to reach Zaporizhzhia. So that is what the Ukrainians fear at the moment, that Russia will launch a big assault towards Zaporizhzhia itself. So that is that is what the rumors are telling us of late during the last couple of days, that a lot of armor is moving through here. Russia might have 100,000, 130,000 troops in this area that can be used to assault Zaporizhzhia. And on top of that, we also have the rumors that Russia has 300 boats of various types that they want to use in an assault against Kherson. So the armor they're bringing up through Crimea, is that supposed to be used together with the boats? Will there be a big amphibious assault somewhere here where they secure a port or a landing site, and then they bring across a bunch of tanks or BMPs that are amphibious in theory, and they cross the river with the BMPs to reach the Marines on the Ukrainian side? Who knows? But we're gonna have to keep an eye on it. But what appears to be the case is that Russia has several assault craft ready to go, and they are building up an armored force in the area, And they have a lot of troops stationed here in case Ukraine tries something shifty with their marines in and around the river Dnipro here at Kherson. So they have all the pieces in place, it seems, to do something maybe towards Zaporizhzhia or maybe towards Kherson. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. And I figured we would finish off with Pokrovsk because down here Ukraine has fallen back. Nothing strange. They were in a precarious position and eventually they pulled out. And that would be down here where they fell back from the woods here at Lyubimovka, and Hanivka is probably abandoned as is Uspinivka and stuff like that. So they probably moved back towards the areas here at Konstantinopolsk, whatever it's called. The other day we saw Russia pushing into that town as well, and here at Sukhuyali as well. And then today not much else, but I mean, I think it's safe to say that this is in Russian control, Sukhuyali and Konstantinopolsk and these towns as well. So that might suggest that Ukraine has fallen back to Ulakli and Dachne and these towns, and maybe Russia will push out into this area in the coming days. We'll see. Interestingly, Russia has had little gains. They have made some pushes here, as you can see. Not much going on at reaching Novolanivka. But what is interesting, though, is here at Shevchenko, we can see here Russia pushing out. Take a look. Boom. And what happens then? Boom. Push back. I don't know how far, I don't know the distance. How far was that? 1.1 kilometers. So they got pushed back about a kilometer. So, or not even that. Hang on. From here to, what the hell? No. Away you go. I want you. And is it something like that? So 600, 500 meters maybe. But I mean, it's important nonetheless. Ukraine, well, beggars can't be choosers. This is a win, no matter how you see it. And anything that goes in Ukraine's favor around Pokrovsk is a good thing. I haven't updated my map on Pokrovsk yet, but I mean, you can see here where Russia, Ukraine, I should say, have fallen back from this entire area because Russia was pushing in this way. So, and Russia has managed to push up into Konstantinopolsk, whatever the town is called. So I think you have this river here. Russia will push up to that river in the coming days. And let's see, you have a lot of windbreaks. Yeah, so maybe Ukraine will mount some proper defenses, or they will fall back to Dachne and Ulakli and Selenivka and Constantinople maybe. But that's dangerous too. That would allow the Russians to come up behind and from the south on Kharkiv. So maybe we will see some stiff resistance from the Ukrainians after all in the area. But anyway, this here is now completely in Russian control, and Russia will push up to the river here, to Sukhuyali, the river, and Konstantinopolsk and whatever. And then, of course, here we've seen some small gains by Russia outside of Pushkina. Quite crucially, because if they push out this way, which they seem to have done, they basically isolate the Ukrainians up here. The Ukrainians up here will have to fall back, and that gives Russia probably access to this entire area here. And then, when that happens, it hasn't happened yet on the maps. They only made some gains, small gains here. We were talking about this in one of my previous videos. And then they are in a good spot to make a move on Novolanivka, right? It's because, like I keep saying, they want the supply route. And then we saw them here at Shevchenko pushing out this way towards Pishane, grabbing whatever we're seeing here and pushing up. I mean, you can see they don't have that many options. You have a couple of windbreaks, and Ukraine pushed them back. So I believe Ukraine is back, has regained control over this area here, and Russia is back down here by the road, if I'm not mistaken. So Russia made an attempt to grab this and made an attempt to push up along the windbreaks. That failed, and Ukraine forced them back and is now once again in control of this. So, I mean, it kind of highlights what I've been talking about, these wide open spaces. It's difficult for Russia, right? And if they came in this way through town, it's a narrow approach point, and Ukraine pushed them back, and Russia's back to having to push back through this narrow choke point. So yeah, it's not easy for Russia pushing up. Take a look, same thing here. Wide open spaces here south of Dashensky. I mean, take a look at how the hell they're gonna YOLO it. Of course they could YOLO it. Russia does that all the time. But that is also why they're losing a dozen vehicles every day, if not more. It's because they YOLO it across these wide open fields. And so their only viable approach point is through here. But I mean, if you set up mortars and machine gun nests, it's easy to deny Russian infantry any chance to move through, right? So you understand why things are moving so slowly, because it's so difficult to attack through these predictable approach points, right? It's like here, where are they going to rush across here or try and reach the proper cover up here? Of course, Russia's going to try and reach this position. So it's easy to defend. It's easy to aim artillery, mortars, and FPV drones to cover this area, because Russia wants to get across here, right? Instead of trying to, here you have a river and what have you, it's just not, they're not going to attack here, they're going to be attacking here, and that makes it easy to set up your defenses and what have you. And this is why Russia is advancing so slowly, and this is why Ukrainian lines have not collapsed. Russia's gained, 60 kilometers in 14 months since they took Avdiivka. From Avdiivka to Shevchenko, it's 60 kilometers. 14 months. That's not a good track record. And it shows us how effective the Ukrainian defenses are, since they are holding on with such effectiveness against the overwhelming firepower that the Russians are bringing to the front lines. And I mean, the Ukrainians are outnumbered, outgunned, and they're still holding. They are holding the line. Yes, they're being pushed back, but they are without a doubt still in control of the line. And when they fall back, it is done in an orderly fashion, a fighting withdrawal. And well, that's it for this time around. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, go po marsh, Ukraine, and give them hell.